What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are here to talk about the Detroit Lions offense a little bit more for 2021. As we continue to get some insight on what the Lions scheme could look like for 2021, and also some insight on their personnel roles for this upcoming year, we get some more pieces to the puzzle. And as we continue to put them together, we get a nice little vision of what the Lions offense could look like. And I gotta say, I'm excited. It's gonna be different, but it does look exciting and promising on paper. So let's get it started.
Way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Yeah! He's a goal! Oh, there's nobody! Hey everybody, now before we get into the video, we got to take a look at our comments of the day. We got 2 of them today. The first one comes from a man, East Detroit. He says, do a video predicting the roster for this season. We will do that. I'm not sure when, but we will. We'll do like a predicting like the 53 or 55 man roster, like who's going to make the team. I don't know how long I don't know when we usually do that. We'll probably wait a little bit. But I don't want to wait too long because obviously then they'll start cutting people. But yeah, we'll do that for sure. That's a great idea, East Detroit. I appreciate it. And also my man, Ronell. Am I saying the name? Ronell? Either way, you said that Evan Heim went to your school. He commented on the Evan Heim video, said, this dude went to my school. That is awesome. That's really cool. Awesome. I appreciate you, Evan. How you guys doing? You guys doing good? All right. Enjoy the video. Well, as we continue to hear from Anthony Lynn, and he talks about what to expect from the Lions offense, and he gives us these little puzzle pieces, and we start to put them together, we are seeing a very clear picture of what the Lions are trying to build for this offense going forward. And what's so exciting is that you can see with all the players the Lions have brought in this offseason, the type of players they're bringing in, the scheme fits they have, it's exciting because to me, it's going to fit these players extremely well. That includes Jared Goff. I think it's going to be a better fit for DeAndre Swift. And you can see what the Lions are doing here with all the moves they're making this offseason. So as we continue to kind of put these pieces to the puzzle that we're hearing about, you can kind of see the picture the Lions are building towards. And it's really exciting because I think it's going to work really, really well. So let's first start with the backfield, okay? The run game, a little bit of the pass game as well, because I think that's going to be a huge part of the backfield for the Detroit Lions. But let's talk about those running backs, all right? We have DeAndre Swift, Jamaal Williams, and then after that, you have a lot of young guys competing for spots. Jermar Jefferson, Kerryon Johnson was cut, so you have Jermar Jefferson, Raheem Boyd out of Arkansas, the UDFA, and also the UDFA, Dedrick Mills. So we have a lot of young guys behind Jamaal Williams and DeAndre Swift that are competing for the 3rd, 4th, and maybe 5th, probably not 5th, running back spots. Now, I want to make this clear right now. Don't expect to see a bell cow type of running back offense. It's not going to be like that, and it shouldn't be like that. Anthony Lynn historically likes to use multiple running backs. Just look at the Chargers last season. They had 4 running backs with really good touches. That's not always the case. Last year, Austin Eckler was injured, so it allowed some of the depth guys to get more touches than usual. But he doesn't usually have a 1 running back type of system. In the NFL, you don't really see that. I mean, there's only a couple offenses that do that kind of thing, and that's like the Titans because they have a guy that's Derrick Henry. We don't have a Derrick Henry, and DeAndre Swift is not Derrick Henry. So we shouldn't do that as an offense. We want to keep it mixed up and, continue to rotate these guys in and out, running back by committee, because that's going to lead to the most effective offense for us, but also use these running backs to their strengths. And I think Anthony Lynn hit on that perfectly. It's making me super excited about what this offense can be. So don't expect Swift to get 30 to 40 carries a game. You can expect more touches. The difference there is the passing game, which we'll get into in a second, but don't expect him to get 30 to 40 carries because that's just not his fit. Even coming out of college, this guy was not a bell cow at Georgia. Not at all. He was actually a very rotational running back that was very effective in the role that they utilized him for. To make this clear, it's not me saying that Swift isn't going to get, more carries. He will get more carries. It's just not going to be 30 to 40. And we'll talk about near the end of the video, we'll talk about how good he actually was last season in his rookie year because the Lions slowly kind of implemented him to, being the top guy for them. And once he became the top guy, the guy was by far, hands down, our best running back. And he was great. We'll take a look at some numbers at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. But I want to make it clear, not 30 to 40, but he will get more carries. I mean, it's not going to be 5 touches for him. But let's talk about what Anthony Lynn said about Jamaal Williams recently because it kind of gives us a more clear picture on what to expect. So we call Jamaal Williams his A-back. And with him saying that, a lot of people think he's going to be the number 1 back. And a lot of people didn't like to hear that. Like, wait a minute, we have Swift. He's the number 1 back, not this Jamaal Williams guy. But I don't really care who the 1, who the 2, who the 3 is. I don't care who the first guy is getting the handoff. I don't care about that. I just want the guys to utilize to their strengths. What do you do best? Okay, this is what you do best. We'll use you in that way. What Dan Campbell said about the entire offense fits the running back room as well. He said that this is going to be an offense and defense based on matchups. If we have to do this specific thing 40 times a game to win, we will do that. We're going to be a matchup offense. And that fits when you look at the running back room as well. So here's what Anthony Lynn said. His A-back, speaking about Jamaal Williams, is usually the between the tackle runner. This is usually the bigger running back. Now, him and Swift are very similar in size, but Jamaal Williams kind of has that bigger running back, way to him. And he also is more of a between the tackle type of runner. For example, he averaged 2.6 yards after contact last season, way more than DeAndre Swift, and he also forced 12 missed tackles. He runs a lot more between the tackles if you watch him on film as well. So I see what he's saying there. He kind of has that bigger running back mentality to him. And he also said that usually the A-back is the better blocking running back, which Jamaal Williams definitely is. Jamaal Williams is an exceptional blocking running back, not only as a pass blocker, but also as a run blocker. I don't expect him to do that a lot, but as a pass blocker in 2018 and 2019, he was arguably the best pass blocking running back in the league. He graded out as the best, and last year wasn't the top, but was still one of the best in the NFL. So he is an exceptional blocking running back. So we see what he's saying there. He is kind of more of the between the tackle type of runner than DeAndre Swift is. Even though DeAndre Swift showed us last season he could run between the tackles, what we're hearing from Anthony Lynn about what the scheme and Jared Goff about what the scheme is going to look like, it's making me excited because I think this is going to fit better for Jared Goff. It's going to fit better for DeAndre Swift. Yes, I think this fits better for DeAndre Swift. So that's what he said about his A running back. And then he talked about the B running back position. And he said the B running back, to me, this is DeAndre Swift. He said is more the speed and space type of guy. Now, when you hear that, you're probably thinking about top-end speed, and you're like, well, hold up, he's not a burner. No, he's not. I think what Anthony Lynn is saying here is he's not the fastest top-end speed guy, but he's very scary in space. You get this guy in space, and it's scary. He can cause issues for defenses. And we saw that last year when he watched this film of DeAndre Swift. As the season went on, when he got more involved in the rushing game, the Lions tried a lot to just get this guy in space because he's very dangerous in space. And we already know to expect a zone rushing scheme from the Detroit Lions. We've talked about this multiple times. All the running backs that we brought in are fit for this. Coming out of the draft, here's what one scout said about DeAndre Swift. He is fit for a spread offense that's up-tempo that utilizes a zone rushing scheme. Now, what do we know about spread offense? Jared Goff told us this is going to be a multiple spread offense, which we'll get to in a second. We talked about it in the past. So, boom, you can see the clear fit there, and I think it fits better for DeAndre Swift's strengths. Jamaal Williams, he's coming from a zone rushing scheme with Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur, who learned from Shanahan. Mike Shanahan is who Anthony Lynn learned from. Jamaal Williams definitely fits the zone rushing type of scheme. We saw last year he did a lot with the Green Bay Packers, and it's what Anthony Lynn has implemented pretty much everywhere that he's went, and usually he has one of the top zone rushing schemes in the league. And then Jamar Jefferson, coming out of Oregon State, he fit that. It's all about vision. It's all about following blockers, setting up blockers for him. That's the scheme that he fits. Raheem Boyd fits that scheme, and Dedrick Mills, he's kind of, to me, more of the power type of back anyways. But schematically, you can see the fit for a zone rushing scheme. For DeAndre Swift, he's better in space. He proved to us last year he can definitely run between the tackles. In space, that's where he's super dangerous, and the Lions try to do that. And that's not only in the rushing attack, that's also getting the ball to him in the passing game as well. And that's something that Anthony Lynn said about Jamaal Williams that he brings to the table that not a lot of A-backs do. And that's the pass-catching ability. He said Jamaal Williams, soft hands, can line up at the receiver spot, can run some routes. He's a very savvy route runner and catch passes. He had 31 receptions on only 35 targets last season for over 200 yards. Last year, DeAndre Swift had 46 receptions for over 300 yards. Not always about rushing attempts. It's mainly about touches. And I think the receiving game is going to be huge for the Detroit Lions next year, specifically screens. It's something that we've seen a ton. Chargers last year with Justin Herbert. It's something that we saw with the Bills with Anthony Lynn when he was there. Screens are going to be heavily utilized. So Jared Goff loves to utilize his running backs in the receiving game, as 1 year Todd Gurley led the team in reception. And then you look at the offensive line we brought in. All of these guys are the same schematic fits. They're all fits for zone rushing schemes. Penei Sewell's a fit for that. Look at the UDFAs. Evan Heim, Drake Jackson. They're second level blockers that are mobile. And they also block really well in the screen game. Frank Ragnow does that well. Taylor Decker does it well. Big V is really mobile for the guard spot because, guards usually sometimes aren't that mobile, but Big V is because he is mainly a tackle that could be pushing into guard. So he's very mobile, and that's where screens start to show up. Penei Sewell played in a screen-heavy offense with Oregon. You can expect a lot of screens next season. I think that's where Swift is going to be specifically extremely dangerous, but also Jamaal Williams as well, because Swift has good vision, great one-cut ability, but he sets up his blockers extremely well, just like Jamaal Williams does. So getting the ball to them in space, specifically DeAndre Swift, like Anthony Lynn is talking about, it's not only about the running attack, but it's also throwing him the football. Being able to line these guys up in the slot, in the outside receiver position, is just like Dan Campbell said. It's about matchups. So it's not about who's getting, hey, who's the one, who's the two. It's going to be about matchups. Which running back matches up against the best against this defense? Where can we take advantage of this defense? That's who will get the touches. So I think that's what it's about. I'm not worried about who the labeled number one is, who in the first game of the season gets the first carry. I don't care. It doesn't matter. As long as these guys are being utilized in the best way, that's what matters. Because Swift isn't going to be a bell cow. He wasn't at Georgia. He shouldn't be. That's something that Anthony Lynn has done in the past. He rotates his running backs, and that's what we can expect from the line. So it's just about utilizing them in the right way. And when you see the type of offensive line we brought in, the type of tight end / fullbacks that are built for an H-back type of pistol formation, which we'll get into in a second, and then you take a look at the running backs, you can see everywhere the schematic fit and what kind of scheme the Lions are building towards with this offense. Receivers that can block, which is important as well for screens. Then we bring it back to the spread offense, something that Jared Goff said to expect from the Lions this season. A multiple spread offense, mixing in things that we saw Anthony Lynn do with the Chargers and we saw Anthony Lynn do with the Buffalo Bills. Now, a spread offense, you hear that and you're thinking, well, that's not going to be effective for a rushing team, but it actually is. And one way is the pistol formation. The pistol formation is kind of implemented for a spread team to be effective on the ground. That's what the pistol brings to the table, because it usually sets up a lead blocker, it allows for multiple running backs, and it allows for running backs to get downhill like they would when a quarterback is under center. Instead of standing next to the quarterback, you're behind the quarterback still. You can get downhill and you get more time to see everything. This is a way to be a very effective rushing team that can just run down the throat of a defense while still playing out of the spread. This fits Jared Goff. It makes Jared Goff comfortable. Go watch Jared Goff back at Cal. He did a lot of things out of the spread formation. Talked about this in the last one. So it's going to fit Jared Goff well, but it also fits DeAndre Swift, as Swift was in a spread offense with Georgia. And if you watch BYU, Jamaal Williams, he was in a spread offense that usually played a little bit more under center, ran between the tackles, like Anthony Lynn said. So it's not going to be all spread. Implements under center, things like that to keep those things mixed up. And that's why you see these tight ends and these fullbacks being brought in, right? These blocking tight ends, these kind of guys, because those guys are competing for the H-back position, the guys that can lead block and catch passes out of the backfield. That's why you're seeing so many of those type of players brought in, because they're all competing for very similar roles in that way. Expect to see some pistol next year, and that allows you to be a very effective rushing team while still playing out of the spread, which to me is going to make Jared Goff the most comfortable. And actually, I think it's going to lead to a bounce back year for Jared Goff. We talked about it. The most important thing for Jared Goff is having a rushing attack. All right. And if the Lions can do that, which on paper, not even just, being blindly saying it, but also when you see what the Lions have done this offseason, the Lions rushing attack on paper should be an effective rushing attack, should be above average, should be a good rushing attack. Let's just go out and say it. They had above average offensive line last year that added a guy like Penei Sewell. I don't expect to see Penei Sewell go out there and dominate, but I do think that he will be an upgrade in year one from Terrell Crosby. Even though it's tough, he was the top tackle for a reason. I expect him to be an upgrade there. And then you look at the running back room. Adding Jamaal Williams was a huge upgrade over having Adrian Peterson and Kerryon Johnson last season. Schematically, then you can see the fits. The Lions took what they already had, brought an offensive coordinator who fit what some of these players fit well, and then he added more to that. All this scheme is coming together. You can see the vision here. But then the passing attack and the rushing attack, they play off of each other a little bit. So how is the passing attack going to work this year? It's all about matchups. All right. Now, if you know Jared Goff, we understand what his strengths, we understand what his weaknesses are. We've done film videos on Jared Goff. We understand what he does and doesn't do well. It's something that we saw back at Cal. It's something that we saw with the Rams. And it's something that we can expect with the Detroit Lions. He's still a young quarterback. He's still 26, so he's improving in certain areas. But as of this very second, as of right now, what does Goff do well and what does he not do well? Goff is a good on-time, on-schedule, tempo, spread offense type of quarterback that does things quickly. He's a very quick decision maker, very smart in that area. Where things get bad for Jared Goff is when plays break down, when plays go on too long, when things are off schedule, when he's trying to make something happen. That's when we thought turnovers become a very big problem for Jared Goff. And that's why you see those turnovers kind of pile up last year. People are like, oh man, he was bad. How do you keep a guy from not being under pressure? Of course, a good offensive line, a good rushing attack to set up the play action, but also quick decisions, get the ball out of his hands. Matchups is exactly what we saw back at Cal. And when I hear spread, it makes me think of what he did at Cal. And this is why I think he'll have a good year. I think he'll have a bounce back year. The same way that you saw Anthony Lynn do a really good job with Justin Herbert. He was so fantastic as a rookie quarterback, is exactly what I think is going to happen with Jared Goff. Maybe not to the same extent, but there's a reason he was that successful. It's not because Herbert was just simply that great of a player. He was a great player last year. Don't get it twisted. But it's also what Anthony Lynn did with Justin Justin Herbert to bring the best out of him. He did a lot of things that translated from what Justin Herbert did at college to keep him comfortable as a quarterback. And a lot of it was a lot of quick decision making, while also allowing him to use that mobility, get outside the pocket, and throw on the run. Anthony Lynn definitely can see what Jared Goff can bring to the table. There are so many similarities to how this will fit. This guy has a clean pocket. When things are on time, when things are on schedule, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. In 2018, let's look at 2018, for example. He was the 5th best quarterback in the league without pressure. Under pressure, he was the 24th best quarterback. That was the biggest difference in the NFL. And we've seen that every year with Jared Goff. When things are on time, when they're on schedule, when they're quick decisions, when he's clean in the pocket, that's when he can be really good. And that's why people call him a rhythm passer. It's the same thing we saw with him back at Cal. I definitely think we're going to see this year. It's a lot of quick decision making and based on matchups. All right, matchups are huge. And these are a lot of pre-snap things that Jared Goff is going to have to bring. And it's something that he improved on every year. His coach talked about it as Cal, is the pre-snap. He's doing everything pre-snap now, is what the coach said at Cal by the time Jared Goff was in his final year with Cal. It's going to be a lot about pre-snap determining matchups. Hockenson has the mismatch. That's where I'm going to go with the football. This receiver is bigger. This receiver is faster. Figuring out mismatches before the snap and then taking advantage of them quickly to keep him clean in the pocket and getting the ball out quickly to make it pretty simple for him. And he really thrives in that. And that's when you see rhythm. That's when tempo happens, because I think it allows him to show some of that mobility off. Jared Goff is one of the best passing quarterbacks in the league. I will say this. On the run. Not on the run because he's on pressure and he's just flinging the ball. I'm talking about design play action bootlegs, rollouts. He's really, really good on the run. He was really good at it at Cal, and he was really good at it in the NFL. It's the same thing that Justin Herbert did really well. On the run, not under pressure on the run, but on the run, on the move, mobility passes, he was really good at it. It's something that Jared Goff also does at a very high level. I mean, you can see the similarities between these two guys. Not completely, but you can see some similarities. And Jared Goff is really good at that. And I don't want to hear that Jared Goff isn't mobile. Goff is mobile. He's way more mobile than Matthew Stafford. The thing is, Goff is not a running quarterback. He's not Lamar. He's not that type of guy. He's not a run-first quarterback. And I'm cool with that. I don't want that. But he is mobile. Jared Goff can move around in the pocket. He can roll out, play action bootlegs, and he's extremely accurate in those situations. So having a good run game sets up the play action. And if you have a good run game to set up the play action, you're going to get clean pockets. You're going to see play action bootlegs. You're going to see play action rollouts. And then you're going to see that strength for Jared Goff throwing on the run really shown off, because he's going to be very comfortable. Things are going to be on time. They're going to be on schedule. Timing routes will be right on the money. Comeback routes, slants, everything's on time in the NFL. When things break down, Jared Goff struggles. When things are on time, on schedule, Jared Goff thrives. And that's what this offensive scheme is going to bring out of Jared Goff. The mobile offensive line is not only going to help, the running game, but it's also going to help the passing game. These play action bootlegs, things like that. But it's also going to be a lot of quick decisions for Jared Goff. And we saw it with the Rams. McVay did a great job of this. He would determine, okay, here's where the mismatch is before the snap. And then it was option plays, read options, RPOs. Those are things that Jared Goff is going to be able to implement with this scheme for the Detroit Lions. RPOs. He's going to get back to that like he did at Cal. Okay? Quick decision. Snap the ball. Am I giving it to the running back, or am I going to pull this down and throw it? And he knows where the mismatch is. And that's where you see the zone running scheme. And you also see the mobility of our offensive line really pay off. Screens are going to be a very big part. One way to really slow down the pass rush is screens. You try to bring a pass rush, which makes Goff uncomfortable, you throw a screen. He did it a lot at college. We saw Justin Herbert do it last year. We saw him do it with the Bills. Screens. And we have the running backs, and we also have the offensive line that is built for screens. Sewell thrives with screens. That's all they did at Oregon. That's where it's going to be really good. And you have the running backs that run extremely well. They set up blockers extremely well. And like I said with Swift, in space. It's not about carries. It's about touches. He's going to get his touches there. And then mismatches, matchups, lining out Swift against the linebacker, that's going to be an issue. TJ Hockenson is going to be an issue. Some of these bigger, faster receivers, they're going to get matchups. It's not about, hey, I need to be the best receiver. Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot is a matchup problem. Who's going to be the matchup? One game, Hawkinson's going to be a matchup problem for teams because they won't be able to stop the tight end. And that's where the Lions will attack. They'll do it 40 times a game if they have to, right? Sometimes you'll go out there and Amon-Ra St. Brown will be a matchup problem because they won't have a guy that can keep up with him at the slot spot. Sometimes it'll be the speedy receivers on the outside that teams can't keep up with down the field, and he'll attack and he'll create big plays. Comes off of the running game, and the running game on paper should be effective next season for the first time in forever, right? That's what it feels like. And let me throw you some stats out on how good the Lions running backs actually could be this year. Just take this in for a second, okay? Last season, DeAndre Swift was really kind of slowly worked into the offense as a ball carrier. We saw that, right? It was Peterson, it was kind of carry on, and then Swift kind of took over towards the end of the year. It's similar to what the Browns did with Nick Chubb in his rookie year. They did the same thing, right? They had not a lot of carries, and then slowly they implemented him, and all of a sudden it was like, okay, you're the guy. That's what kind of happened with Swift last year. He had over 4 yards per carry, 7 out of the 12 games that he played in. Technically, he played in 13 games, but against Arizona, I think it was Arizona, he had 0 carries in that game. So I'm not even counting that game. And as I mentioned early in the season, he didn't get any carries. So if you look at like the first couple weeks of the season, it was like 3 carries, 4 carries, 5 carries. And I'm including those games as the games that he didn't get 4 yards per carry. So he was actually really good when he got some value. He had over 9 carries in a game. He averaged over 5 yards per carry. He averaged 5.1 yards per carry when he got over 9 carries a game. That's not a ton of carries, but it's just how long it took the Lions to get him rolling. And once they got him involved, once they started giving volume, the guy was outstanding. 5.1 yards per carry when getting 9 or more carries last year for Detroit. Okay? And you can expect to see 9 carries. He's going to get that amount of carries, but then he's going to get touches in the passing game, and that's when he's a huge threat. 46 receptions last year as a rookie is nuts. It's nuts. And then obviously you have a Pro Bowl tight end, which doesn't hurt. What does that mean? 7 of 12. Why is that important? Well, if you look at the history for the Detroit Lions running backs, not to just put on the runners, obviously, sometimes that's offensive line, sometimes it's passing attack, but the Lions have really struggled with running backs. They're hard to draft. However, you can go back all the way to 2000, the year 2000. That's where I stopped because I was like, hey, I got to stop here. Look at running backs taken in the top 3 rounds for the Detroit Lions. There was only 2 running backs in their rookie season that had more 4+ yards per carry games. And again, 3 of those games for DeAndre Swift, he had like 5 carries or less. And those came at the beginning of the season that he didn't have over 4 yards per carry. He was good with some volume, and he's going to get those kind of touches. I mean, 9 carries is nothing for running back. He'll get those touches rotating in. He doesn't need 40, but 9+, he'll get that. Don't even worry about that. But the thing is that we've only had 2 running backs going all the way back to 2000, that running backs that were drafted in the top 3 rounds by the Lions. And there's multiple running backs. Javid Best, Michael LaShore, Kevin Jones, Kevin Smith. I mean, there was like 10 running backs, okay, in that category. Detroit Lions have only had 2 guys with more 4 yards per carry games. That was Kevin Jones and that was Kevin Smith. They both had 9, but they also played in more games than DeAndre Swift did. Played 16, one of them played 15 games. So DeAndre Swift is in kind of rare territory for Detroit Lions running backs. All right. And again, that came with him not really getting that many opportunities until the season. You're about halfway through the year. And again, he missed games last season because of a concussion in practice. Jamaal Williams last season, when he had over 8 carries with the Green Bay Packers, some volume, he averaged 4.25 yards per carry. That's solid. He also, out of the 14 games that he played, 8 of the 14 games, he averaged over 4 yards per carry, which meant 57% of the time he was going over 4 yards per carry for the Green Bay Packers. Those are kind of weird stats, but it's important because this is success at the running back spot that the Lions haven't had in the past. Running backs are hard to draft. The Lions haven't had this kind of success at the running back group. Now you add Penei Sewell. Now you add a better scheme fit, I think, for a guy like DeAndre Swift, and I think obviously it fits what Jamaal Williams has already been doing. You add a better offensive line. I think we're going to see an effective rushing attack next season. I just want to throw those numbers out there just to kind of give you a little bit of perspective on how good Swift actually was in his rookie year with the limited amount of attempts. And when he does get some touches, 9+ carries, he averaged over 5 yards per carry last season for the Lions. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there and let me know what you guys thought about that. So I think the scheme is going to really fit these guys. I think we're going to see we're going to see a rushing attack that's going to be effective next season. Not to say it's going to be the best, but it's going to be effective. And there's good depth here. And I also think we're going to see a bounce back from Goff. Not to say he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks, but I think this scheme, if I'm right as to what I think they're going to do, I think it's going to fit him really well. So let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.